I'm speaking with Bob Lange from Airbus. Bob, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Perhaps we could start off. You've just announced a really novel cabin feature called SPICE.
Yeah, SPICE stands for Space Efficient Innovative Catering Equipment. It's a research project that started off in Airbus because we were asked initially by some A380 customers to really think out of the box and to try and rethink the whole catering process. It's taken some years to come to fruition and to get mature, so it wasn't available at the entry into service of the A380. But essentially, we've looked at catering, looked at the galleys today that haven't really changed for 40 years. And rather than taking the lowest common denominator, the building block, if you like, as the ubiquitous catering trolley, we've gone a step further and we've looked at what's inside. And we've noticed that you have a standard size meal tray, which we were able to package in a more intelligent manner into specific boxes, which are only contained in trolleys for the flight service themselves. So it's a system whereby we're able to eliminate most of the trolleys on the aircraft, replace them by standard unbranded boxes, which are contained in branded foldable service carts that they stay on board the aircraft. So the airline's brand doesn't take the wear and tear of the trolleys going through the supply chain, the appearance is kept up, and by eliminating most of these trolleys, we're able to take a whole bunch of weight out of the aircraft. So we're able to, with a typical wide body like a 330 today, reduce aircraft weight by 480 to 600 kilos per aircraft. The galley itself uses a different footprint, which means that we're able to use the height of the galley more efficiently for storage, and we're able to get the volume of catering an airline needs today in less footprint than with traditional galleys. That means we can get rid of one whole galley monument and we can replace it with 3 more seats. So a net benefit to the airline of half a ton of weight out of the aircraft, 3 more seats inside the aircraft, and by virtue of starting from a clean sheet of paper, we've been able to completely revisit all the ergonomics of the cabin crew operation and improve that as well.
So if you're going to put those 3 seats in place of a monument, there's obviously a revenue implication which is quite novel from the point of view of galleys, right?
Yes, it is. SPICE is something that's been designed to be applicable to any aircraft, any type of aircraft from any manufacturer, both in line fit and retrofit. And the novel element here is that if you talk to most airlines about galley retrofits, they have a great deal of difficulty even imagining a viable business case for a galley retrofit of the monument itself. But in fact, with the SPICE standard, it's the only galley standard that actually gives you a very significant and quantifiable revenue benefit. So it means you can start to look at a retrofit business case that gives you a payback in as little as 3.5 years.
That's amazing. Let's go on to cabin design, state-of-the-art, connectivity. What are you seeing, since we last spoke 2 years ago, what are you seeing the state-of-the-art? How has it evolved in the past 2 years?
Connectivity is always a fascinating subject for me because it seems that the more we go on, the more alternative technology paths there seem to be. So I feel that the industry is in a perpetual state of confusion. That's my personal view anyway. But what I do see is some very interesting business models out there, particularly in the US where ground-to-air broadband predominates. But also internationally, I think we're starting to get to the stage now where we're going to get a much closer investigation of how much bandwidth is actually used. It's very easy to take the view that the pipe needs to be just as big as it possibly can. But I think we all realize that particularly when that pipe feeds through a satellite, the cost of providing that bandwidth is non-negligible. Whether the airline finds a revenue model from it, or a revenue sharing model through the service provider, or whether it's simply bundled in as part of the ticket price. And what we're going to see, I think, going forward, what we're starting to see now, is a much greater focus on the real bandwidth needs, and each player asking themselves, what is the most important value benefit I get out of this, and how much bandwidth does that require. Give a specific point here. We tend to always think of broadband as an enabler for high bandwidth activities, TV transmission, direct video. We've seen as well a growth in the interest of GSM applications. In the WAA a couple of days back, even one of the bigger players described the GSM application as the killer application. So we're seeing those applications as well, but I think the area that's just starting to emerge now is the service aspects for the airline operation. How an airline can improve service recovery through direct connectivity applications, how they can improve crew reporting, crew logbooks, getting operational benefits to the airline, which themselves may end up paying for the system and mitigating the risk that the airline has to find a revenue model for the passenger applications.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing, because everybody focuses on the passenger, but if we focused more on the airline's operational needs, perhaps the whole cost of the pipe, so to speak, becomes viewed in a very different light.
Mm-hmm. Think of the benefits for service recovery. Say you're on a long haul flight, for whatever reason you've got a delay, you're going to miss your connection, and while you're airborne, the airline will actually inform you that unfortunately today things didn't go as well as we would normally expect for you. But Mr. Schoenland, you're a valued passenger of ours. We've rebooked you onto this flight. Please be reassured your bags will make the connection, and we're very sorry for this inconvenience, and we'd like to credit you with 25,000 air miles to help make up for that. Imagine the benefit for an airline in terms of customer loyalty, the ability to resolve issues early.
Yeah, I mean, the communication aspect is really powerful. Can we move on to some of the programs? Maybe you can give us an update on, let's start off with the A380.
The A380 is now really coming on stream, coming on song. We've got 36 aircraft in service now. The reliability of the aircraft is right up there, and the feedback we're getting from passengers is just amazing. Each of the A380 operators was expecting a kind of honeymoon period where they were seeing a positive impact and attraction of the aircraft that was coming across in load factors, was coming across in their revenues. Clearly, as an OEM, we don't have visibility into airline revenues directly, but we are able, through guys like IATA and Sabre, to be able to get load factor data and even market share data. And what we've seen is even a couple of years after A380 entry into service, we're still seeing that where it's operated, the A380s are attracting higher load factors than the other aircraft flying on the route, and the honeymoon period for the airlines operating them is actually being extended.
And of course, as each new 380 is coming on stream, the program itself, the actual airplane, is becoming more and more reliable, I would imagine.
Absolutely, and the production rates are right up there as well. We're on target for our aircraft deliveries this year and the further ramp up next year. And what we're seeing, it's always difficult in my position because I've got visibility into the forthcoming A380 interiors, and I'm always asked, well, what is the next new operator going to put in their interior? Of course, I can never say that, but from what I do see, it will continue to impress and amaze. So we're going to continue to see A380 interiors that are extremely attractive in terms of the products and services the airlines choose to put in them to cater for their passengers. One of the key elements as well, of course, is the A380. If you're simply in economy class today, the A380 gives you the widest economy class seat you can get in the business.
Let's move on to the forthcoming attraction, which is the A350. Can you give us an update on how that's working out?
The A350 is, as happens with all programs, we're now at a point in the cabin design where we're in the not so glorious part, because we've got a lot of hard work going on to go into the detailed design of all the elements in the cabin, the lavatories, the galleys, the seats in the IFE, and we're now in that detailed design stage where everything is being fine-tuned, where we're doing that in cooperation with the launch customers of the aircraft, and where we're actually going to, on the public stage, start to see the fruits of that into next year, where we'll be able to show some pre-series hardware at that time. So at the moment, it's if you like, all effort, and the gain is something we'll be able to see and share as of next year.
Do you think that SPICE will be a standard offering on the 350?
In the initial stages, no, simply because the maturity of SPICE is something that needs to come along not just with the aircraft program, but in terms of the airline operation as well, as it does mean a new standard. We've had tremendous interest in SPICE from the airlines, and we're working together with some airlines to really evaluate the economic impact of SPICE. Of course, the revenue benefits are easy to quantify, but an operational change is something where the devil really is in the detail, and you have to cost out every element. And we can only do that in conjunction with the airlines. That means that it's not something that would be available from the first deliveries of the A350, but it is something we are looking at a later point of embodiment in the 350 program, as well as across, I should say, all other Airbus platforms and through IATA as a standardization initiative.
So I'm going to take a quick chance here, Bob, see how you react. Any comment on new engines for the 320?
That's an interesting question, and nothing to do with cabins at all, Addison. I've got no real comment to make, except that what I think you already know. We're looking at re-engineering a 320. We're looking at the options available. It has to be the right fit. It has to make sense for the 320s that we've still got coming down the pipe. And it's a decision that Airbus management will take in due course.
Thank you, Bob.